Hello and welcome to this video about Jaguar XKR Typhoon, and in particular the Jaguar World review of it. This is video 134 in our series of XK8 videos, and in this video it's a bit of a follow-on from the Racing Green Tempest Typhoon and all the modifications they were offering video 133. And in this video we're following up on Martin Bolt's old XKR Typhoon and the fact that his actual car, his old car, was featured in a magazine article in Jaguar World. If you're interested in this video, you're interested in our channel, O&DR Modurol, please take a look. There's loads of XKR, XK8, X100 stuff in there. Please take a look. Right, okay, so the Jaguar World Review was back in May 2005. We're going to take a quick look at the article, XKR Typhoon. With 450 bhp, this is no ordinary X100. And it certainly isn't. Here's the centerfold shot as you would. So this was Martin Bolt's old XKR Typhoon. Hopefully somebody else is taking good care of this. If you are the current owner, please give us get in touch. Love to hear from you. So the article was called Perfect Storm. Created by an independent specialist in the mid-2000s, the 450 bhp Typhoon was no ordinary X100 XKR. We've tracked down one of the 20 built. Words and photography by Paul Walton. Well done, Paul. Very lucky guy. It's another shot of a photograph of the car. Nice side view. All the Arden aftermarket gear on there. Naming cars isn't an easy business. It needs to be simple, memorable, word, and yet still conjure up the right image for the car. Take Metro, for example. Oh, God bless me. Epitomizing simple I can't pronounce that word, sorry. Epitomizing simple urban transport. Sorry, I'm a bit of a mood tonight. If you're in the US, a Metro is a very, very small car. It was designed and built by British Leyland back in the day, and it was basically a little small car for nipping about in the towns and cities. Then there's the Ampera, an electrical powered Vauxhall. Bad examples are the Ford Probe, sounds too medical, oops, and the Renault Wind, just no. Then there's a Honda Vamos Haplo Travel Dog, look it up. Thankfully, when British sports car specialist Racing Green produced an even more powerful version of the X100 XKR, they gave the car an appropriate moniker. With its 4.2-litre supercharged V8 now producing 450 bhp, it could only have been called the Typhoon. They were faster, taunter, and wore the Arden body kit. Just 20 of these XKRs were built in the early 2000s, and today the cars and their perfect name have been almost forgotten. Well, I'm going to make sure they're not. Another side view, these alloy wheels are absolutely gorgeous. I'd love to get a set of these wheels. Absolutely the bee's knees. The person responsible for the name and the car itself was Chas Whitaker. He previously developed the Chasseur Stealth, a 340 bhp twin-turbo version of the XJ40. And as a former RAF man, he often chose aircraft names for his modified Jaguars. The car that followed the XJ40 was a 4.2-litre turbocharged X300 called the Tornado. That sounds absolutely awesome. With a new investor coming on board in the late 90s, Chasseur morphed into the Paramount Performance, and Chas turned his attention to the X100 XKR. Quote, I thought the supercharged V8 was potentially capable of being modified without needing a large amount of development money, he explains. So basically, I've done a few videos about Chas's work with Chasseur and Paramount, and previously he was turbocharging Jags, the straight sixes, But obviously with the supercharger already bolted on, it was a little bit easier to modify. He didn't have to, he was working with Turbo Technics, I think, at the time to add turbochargers. He didn't need to do that. This was initially achieved by a smaller crankshaft pulley giving more boost, but the modifications didn't end there because Chaz also used parts from the Ardent tuning range from Germany. With revised induction, improved cooling, and specially designed and developed exhaust, the end result was the Paramount 450 Grand Prix. Paramount also modified the X308 XJR for the chairman of the Specialist Tuners Racing Green. Quote, he was investing heavily into his company, explains Chaz, and was so taken by the car, he invited Chaz and his engineering team to join him. And that's how we moved to Racing Green. So Chaz moved to Racing Green's Hampshire premises to lead the company's Jaguar Performance and Styling division. He and his team continued what they started at Paramount, this time using the 4.2-litre XKR, which had replaced the 4-litre in 2002 as the basis. Following a similar method to that used for the Paramount Grand Prix car, by again using Ardent tuning parts, for which Racing Green had become the sole UK agent, and uprating the engine to 450 bhp, they created the Typhoon. Couple of shots of the car now, the badging and the rear lamps and that supercharged engine, for all intents and purposes, looks identical to an ordinary XKR, but obviously it's packing a lot bigger punch. It costs $68,000, $8,000 more than the X100 XKR 4.2S list price in the late 2005. But what made the Typhoon great value for money was an upgrade package worth nearly £17,500. Meanwhile, its estimated 0 to 60 time of 5 seconds put the car on a par with the Aston Martin DB9, which in 2005 cost £35,000 more. Plus, there's only 20 when built. They made the Aston seem more like a mass production hatchback. I'd hardly say that, but okay. A further 20 cars, dubbed the Tempest, that had the styling but not the engine mods, were also created. Says Chaz, quotes, our products filled the niche that Jaguar hadn't gone into while producing cars for 90% of the market. Ours were aimed at the top 5%. Today I think it would be incredibly difficult for someone to do what we had done because Jaguar itself has done it with the F-Type, as well as the late XKR. All things we changed, mainly deepening the exhaust sound, improving performance and beefing up the styling, are now achieved at the factory. So this is a really good point. I love this point because these early cars basically were the forerunner to what came later. So if you have one of these early cars, it's ahead of its time, and that's what makes them more interesting. Bought by collectors and connoisseurs alike, most Typhoons have disappeared, squirreled away from prying eyes by their overindulgent owners. But one car number 7, recently popped up on Jaguar World's radar. So here we have a few shots again from the magazine article of the interior. Lovely interior. It's got all the chrome bits on it and those little bits that just add that bit of finishing touch to the dials, etc. This platinum silver XKR Typhoon, for sale through specialist dealer through a Great British Classics in Surrey, was registered in 2002. But it's thought that the Racing Green conversion was carried out in the mid-2000s. It looked much younger than its 13 years would have you believe, possibly as a result of the suspension being 25mm lower than standard, which gives the car an edgier look, while the subtle Ardent body kit reminds me of the X100's final facelift from 2004. The side sills flows around a deep rear fairing, while the rear valance encompasses 2 meteor-looking tailpipes. The aggressive 20-inch 3-piece alloy wheels, costing £5,000 for the set when new, and slightly recessed mesh grille complete the visual makeover. One thing is missing, or rather several things, because the current owner, Martin Port, removed many of the Ardent badges. So it's not Martin Port, it's Martin Bolt. You got that wrong, mate. Martin Bolt removed many of the Arden badges, thinking them too tacky for the car like this. And probably quite right, but I don't know, it's part of the car being classic, retaining those things that are not in keeping with modern cars, but there you go. The interior is largely untouched, the chrome rings around the dials being similar to those fitted in the 4.2S run-out model from 2005-06. They lift the dark interior to make the cabin a bit more interesting, as do Arden polished aluminium pedal pads. Its modifications have been subtle, but those with a keen eye will realise there's something special going on beneath the louvered bonnet, because there you go, lovely side shot of the car. I'd say the alloy wheels are staggered. You can see the bigger offset on the back there. Because the Typhoon features an ECU upgrade, a revised intercooler, increased supercharger speed, and a special air filter. When I turn the key, it's immediately obvious the exhaust system hasn't been left untouched either. A deep baritone rumble fills the air, loud enough to make an F-Type R go crying to its mama. I like that. Chaz tells me that a lot of the time and effort was went into the exhaust system, and it was built by a company used by McLaren's F1 team. Sadly, this car isn't fitted with Chaz's innovative push-button gear change, oh dear, which was developed from Race Logic Systems and predated Jaguar's own paddle shift operating system by a number of years. Again, another development that came later. This guy was ahead of his time. Reports of the day, including our own Phil Whedon, way back in March 2006 issue of Jaguar World Monthly, said it all worked well. I would like to have experienced it myself, and so would I. All cars except the standard 6-speed automatic gearbox that copes quite well with the extra power of the Typhoon's modifier. All cars kept the standard 6-speed automatic gearbox that copes quite well with the extra power of the Typhoon's modified V8. Gently squeeze the throttle and the box instantly kicks down, unleashing a huge wave of torque that propels the car forward with an almost unnatural force. The acceleration is so instant that it takes a millisecond to absorb it, for my consciousness to catch up and realize how fast we are traveling. I mean, that is a problem with these cars. They're so luxuriously and quiet, and good suspension. You can be rocking on, and you don't realize how quick you're going. The loud exhaust note is matched by a whine from the supercharger that seems louder than normal, and is missing from today's supercharged Jaguars, which makes the XKR feel even more exciting. The steering is perfectly weighted and very sharp. The slight twitch on the steering wheel is followed by immediately the same action on the front. With its lowered and beefed up suspension, the handling is beautifully controlled, and although I'm cut to the wheels. I love these wheels. Love those wheels. More aware of the quality of the road surface passing beneath the tyres, the new spring rates are well chosen. There is still plenty of absorbency, and since the XK's CAT system was retained, the Typhoon never becomes ungainly, even over uneven ground. As a result, its abilities as a long-distance cruiser are untouched. What the Racing Green package has achieved was to awaken the sports car within the X100 XKR and bring it more to the fore. And this is much the debate of many XK8 XKR owners is, there's so much potential underneath in that V8 engine and the chassis and everything. It's a little bit muted by the gearbox, and yeah. Saying that, if the company offered more modifications to the XK8 convertible, I don't think it would work quite as well. The only element going against the Typhoon at the time was the then all-new X150, as it was on sale around the same time, the previous generation of XK. Even a nicely tuned one like this was always going to feel old-fashioned against its new, crisply designed replacement. So, apologies. Yet ironically, the Typhoon's noise, performance and sharpness remind me of a very late X150 XKR. I've driven plenty of modified X100 in the recent years, yet none have been as well sorted or have the performance as determined as the racing greens. A little more handsome than standard, faster too, and yet still discreet. It achieves every goal a modified car needs of it to be taken seriously, and in the case of the XKR Typhoon, it's the one worthy of its name. So this is the great thing about these properly modified X100s. They are done very tastefully, very professionally. There's quality and they're high performance, and he's done a great job. Thank you very much for Chaz Whittaker for all his efforts. Lastly, a side shot of the car again. There's a bit of a summary. So XKR Typhoon 450 engine, 4996cc, V8 supercharged, 450 bhp, 450 pound-foot of torque, 155 mile an hour. Yeah, right. Limited. 0 to 60 in 5 seconds circa. Price new 68,000. Value then, back in 2005, 23,000. Probably a little bit less than that, but has one have drifted far from that. I'd like to take the moment just to request any information from you viewers. If you have a Chasseur, Paramount Performance, Racing Green car, or you're aware of any mods or any ardent modifications, please get in touch with the channel. Send details to owndr@gmail.com. Thanks again to Martin Bolt, and thanks again to Jaguar World Monthly and Paul Walton for writing that article back in 2005. It really emphasizes the quality of this car from a real-life experience of Paul's road test. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe if you'd like to see more XK8 videos.